You're one of the few Howling fans who actually considers it a coherent franchise. I mean,
Joe Bob, it turns out the director of today's movie also was the only other person. But yes.
I mean, it's like every Howling film seems to come from another planet. Is there any continuity? Be honest. Is there any continuity between even starting with Howling 2?
Okay.
Let's start with Howling 2.
Here we go.
All right,
I'm a Howling expert. So you have Joe Dante's Howling.
Okay.
Brilliant film. Really love it. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. It's about a girl. She works with the cops to get like a killer arrested, and she has like PTSD, and she goes to like a little retreat in the mountains, and it turns out there's werewolves there. And at the end, she becomes a werewolf, spoiler, and she reveals herself, and it's a great cliffhanger ending. Well, the second movie picks up right from that, and then the whole movie is about that girl's brother, who is Red Brown, the original Captain America, and your Hunter from the future, teaming up with Christopher Lee to fight. I guarantee you this script was about vampires, and they rewrote it to be a Howling sequel, because Christopher Lee's like, oh, they live in a castle, and you got to kill them with titanium stakes or something like that. It is very, very bizarre. That is the only direct sequel to the first one.
Okay, and that's Sybil Danning.
Sybil Danning, right? Yes, where they cut to her taking off her top like 17 times in
the closing credits. She's, here's my breast. Here's my breast. Here's my breast.
I read a thing of trivia. I don't know if it's true, but it seems like it could be true. But apparently they got I wonder if there might have been like a Planet of the Apes movie filming at the time. But they said that they wanted werewolf costumes, and they got Planet of the Apes kind of costumes, and that's why the werewolves in that movie they don't look like Planet of the Apes, but they just kind of have hair on them. They don't really look like werewolves. So that movie's a mess.
Well, you would be more of an expert than me, but did they film that one in Australia? Because it was Philippe Mora, right? The Australian director.
Yes, yeah. I forget if they filmed in Australia, but funny you bring that up. He then directed part 3. And that's the beginning. We were talking about like the Howling. It didn't succeed very much, but it succeeded where Halloween failed, where it actually did do the anthology series.
Yeah.
Where the only connective tissue is that there's a werewolf. But 3 is about the marsupials. And I have a video on this channel. That is like unironically my favorite werewolf movie. It's just so weird and unique.
You are so weird. You know?
Now let's talk about Clive Turner. So he apparently worked on Howling 3. I think he was like a truck driver or something. Now
okay.
I didn't have time to watch the credits of the films, but this is saying he wrote Howling 4 and Howling 5. He wrote like the story and screenplay, or co-wrote it. So 3, self-contained movie about were marsupials in Australia, and a werewolf ballerina comes to mate with them, and it's a very complicated storyline. They go years in the future. Eventually the Pope gets involved, and he's absolved werewolves of their sins. It is a very loaded movie. But then Howling 4 is just Howling 1 again. It's closer to the book, but it's not as good. And I was telling you...
Oh, you've even read the book.
I haven't read the book.
Oh, okay.
I haven't read the book, but when I was looking up, like, because I'm like, why did they just make the first movie again? And apparently it was because they wanted it closer to the book, but it's not a good movie. But it stars, what's her name? I have her name here. Romy Walthall, who plays Marie Adams in that film.
Oh, the great Romy Walthall.
The great Romy Walthall, who comes back for 7. So then part 5 is a whodunit in a castle. And that's the one where Clive Turner is an actor in it. He's one of the people in the castle.
It looks like 5 was like shot over in Europe somewhere,
yes.
Right?
There's a sign in a hotel in the beginning that says Budapest. I don't know if it was filmed in Budapest, but probably. But yeah, so that's a whodunit, and you find out the dumb girl, Mary Lou, was the werewolf the whole time.
Okay.
And then 6 is about a werewolf that comes into the town the same time as a traveling carnival freak show run by a vampire, played by Bruce Payne. And they fight.
Okay.
So completely unconnected films, right? And by the way, Clive Turner died in part 5. So Clive Turner gets Howling 7, New Moon Rising.
Let me point out.
Yeah.
New Moon Rising was just the title that they put on it so that people wouldn't know it was Howling 7.
So he apparently wasn't involved in part 6 from what I saw. So maybe that's why it references that movie the least. So part 6, werewolf versus vampire at a carnival. you find out at the beginning of this movie, they're like, the carnival just left town and there's a dead body here. We need to investigate it.
Jesus Christ. Holy shit.
Mother of God.
So he heard, just bear with me here. Keep in mind, this movie right now is if you, like, imagine making a Halloween sequel right now that makes all the films canon. Like, it wouldn't make sense, right? It wouldn't make sense for part 3 and then 4, 5, and 6 and then 7 and 8. Like, it would be bizarre. That's what they did. So the priest is like, well, let me tell you the story. There was this castle and all these people went there. And then this one guy died and the girl's name was Mary Lou and she escaped. Now, the actress who played Mary Lou.
And they're flashing back to footage
flashing back to a lot of footage.
4, 5, and 6.
So Mary Lou in Howling 6, she's just an extra. And I think they credit her as Mary Lou just as like an inside joke because she was in the previous movie. But literally, by the way, the footage that he's playing like on a tape, there was no camera in that scene when you watch part 6. I love when movies do that. So she's just there watching a freak show. And then the priest's like, there is Mary Lou. She's in the town. And everyone's like, well, no one, I think she gets credit in this movie just because they use her picture. But they're like, no one there looks like that. And she's like, well, the werewolf changed its face, which I guess they could just do. So
but he had that. But Clive Turner had that actress, right? Who was the extra in the previous movie, or no?
I don't think she's in.
It's not the same actress.
No, it's not the same actress. I think she's only credited. Yeah, archive footage. She's Elizabeth Shee. She's only credited as archive footage.
Oh, so she doesn't come back. So there's no reason to use her.
But like those were two different things. Like that, she wasn't Mary Lou. That was a joke. Like it's so bizarre.